I was asked recently to explain what is the true heart. And I think this is a very good question because we talk a lot about the heart, but what is the heart and what is the true heart? Often when we talk about the heart, we're really talking about the emotional heart. We hear things like follow your heart. And sometimes following our heart can be the right decision. It can be the right thing to do. Sometimes following our heart can get us into trouble. I don't know about you, but for me, there have been times when following my heart was not always the right decision because it was a very emotional decision and there was a lack of really wise thinking, I would say, or it was more emotional. And the true heart is something deeper than the emotional heart. The emotional heart can be really, it can be really good and really well-meaning, but it can also cause trouble because it's emotional, it's not always logical. Not to say that being logical is always a good thing, and it kind of jumps around from this to that. It's very sensitive. It can get very impacted, overwhelmed, flooded, and it can lose balance. It can lose center. We can have very beautiful hearts, but they need to be balanced and centered to be functioning in a really skillful and wise and healthy way. So the true heart is something deeper. It's also the emotional heart has a boundary. There's only so much our hearts can take before they break. We can sometimes feel that, can't we, that our hearts just can't take anymore. And so the true heart is no boundary. It's open, it's empty and not empty. It's empty not in a negative way, in a nihilistic way, but it's like boundless, boundless, open. And it's centered, which is the key. It's centered. And although we think of the heart as being in this physical location of the heart, it's really non-local. It's just the center of everything, the center of entirety. So how to find this true heart? This is the practice that we are all doing. So we can do a simple exercise now. All I want you to do is just take a nice, comfortable breath in through your nose. Relax your shoulders, open your heart, and hold your breath for as long as is comfortable. And whenever you're ready, without panic or stress, you just let the breath go. When you're ready, breathe out and breathe in. And what do you notice when you hold your breath? You could hold the breath on an in-breath or an out-breath. You could do it either way. What do you notice? When I do it, I notice there is awareness without thinking. There's no emotion, unless you're having a panic attack about holding your breath. But if you're holding your breath in a very relaxed, comfortable way, there's no good, there's no bad, there's no right or wrong, there's no judgment, there's no thinking or analyzing. It's just pure awareness. And that is touching into our true heart. And there are different methods we can use. This is what we're all doing. We're practicing finding our true heart, clearing what is blocking and obscuring the true heart through mindfulness. Mindfulness is the protector of our hearts. And it is like a cocoon for our heart as we touch in deeper to the true heart. It holds the heart, the emotional heart. It watches what's coming into the heart and where the heart is running around, getting entangled, getting exhausted, getting drained, jumping from this to that. We need the cocoon of mindfulness. The mindfulness is like a guard at the gate, watching who comes in and who goes out. So we start to see where the heart is getting lost, the emotional aspect of the heart, where it's getting drained, entangled, flooded, overwhelmed. We develop mindfulness. And through mindfulness, through observing and watching, we start to develop wisdom. We start to understand where the heart is getting lost. And when we see the suffering that causes, there is a natural letting go and a natural clearing away of everything that is obscuring our hearts, so that we can touch into the true heart. And there are different practices we can do. So we can use the breath, just breathing in, nothing to do but breathe in till you feel a natural pause. And then breathe out, nothing to do but breathe out until you feel a natural pause. And over time, you start to feel and tap into those pauses between the in-breath and the out-breath. Or you can use a mantra, just centering the heart. We're not rejecting, we're not judging, we're letting emotions arise and cease, but we stay centered, not getting lost. Or when we do get lost, becoming aware, developing our mindfulness, and coming back to our object of meditation. The getting lost and being aware we're getting lost becomes part of the meditation, strengthens our mindfulness and our wisdom. And we can also do contemplations. Buddhist monks contemplate the body. They contemplate death. Again, finding our center beyond forms. All physical forms arise and cease. And so our true heart is beyond the arising and falling of all phenomena. So we can watch the rise and fall of the breath, like the waves coming out of the ocean and returning to the ocean. Sounds arise, they get louder, and then they cease. Thoughts and sensations arise and cease. So we can also watch how things arise and cease. And what is it that's aware? It's the true heart in the center of all this activity. And in the beginning, we're so identified with physical forms, with our thinking, with our emotions. We think that's who we really are. That those pauses between the in-breath and the out-breath, between the sounds, seem like nothing. They don't seem important. But they really are the tapping in to the true heart. And over time, we become more centered in the true heart than lost in the thinking and emotions and the five senses of the body. So it takes practice, because in the beginning we're so identified with our thinking. And the other practices that I find quite helpful are even just walking, just feeling your feet just coming out of the thinking mind. Throughout the day, when you start to get lost, just feeling the weight of your own body. It's very grounding. Simple things, your hands, your feet. Just training ourselves to come out of the thinking mind and dropping into our center. It's a practice. Practice, practice, practice. Relax, observe, focus, concentrate. So I hope you found that helpful. Do keep practicing mindfulness, observation, and finding your center. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.